On your knees. Look up at me. The translator's voice cracks on the last word. Fumiko Hayashi's stomach drops through the floor. She knows what comes next. Every woman in this tent knows. The American soldier steps closer, boots heavy on wet ground. Canvas walls flap in humid Okinawa wind. June 1945, 3 days since capture. 3 days of waiting for the inevitable. Fumiko is one of 1,100 Japanese women taken prisoner in the entire Pacific War. Only 1,100. And 94% of them were told the same thing in training: Americans are beasts. When they capture you, death becomes mercy. America jin wa chikushuda, tsukamaratara, shiga megumi ni naru. She heard it from her commander, from the nurses who trained her, from the pamphlets dropped in every barracks, from Manchuria to Manila. Now she's on her knees, looking up, at a man holding something in his right hand, not a weapon, something small, metal, cylindrical. Her brain can't process it. Sachiko Endo, 19, the youngest signals operator in their unit, starts crying silently beside her, tears cutting through grime on her cheeks. No sound. They trained that out of her. The American clicks the object. Light. A flashlight. He's holding a goddamn flashlight. Fumiko blinks. The beam moves across her face. Left eye, right eye. He's checking her pupils, not her body. Her eyes. Private First Class Daniel Morrison, 24, from someplace called Ohio, doesn't touch her. Doesn't speak except to mutter numbers to the translator. Writes something on a clipboard. Moves to the next woman. That's it. Fumiko's hands won't stop shaking. Not from fear anymore, from something worse. Confusion. The propaganda didn't prepare her for this. The warning said nothing about flashlights and clipboards and medical examinations. Haruko Mori, 34, senior nurse and true believer, watches from the corner. Face unreadable. She's been with the Imperial Army for 11 years, seen things, done things, believed everything she was told. Now an American medic is checking their eyes for tropical diseases. Standard intake protocol. 47 women will pass through this tent today. 0 will be assaulted. 0 will be experimented on. 0 will match a single word of their training. The smell of antiseptic mixes with jungle rot. Fumiko's knees ache against the hard ground. Her mind races through every warning, every whispered story, every lesson. None of them mentioned this. Morrison finishes with Sachiko, turns back to Fumiko, opens his mouth, and says 3 words that make no sense at all. "Open your mouth." Fumiko's jaw locks. Every woman in line stops breathing. The tent goes silent, except for canvas snapping in the wind. This is it. This is what they warned about. Kuchi wo akero to iwaretara, sore wa owari da. If they tell you to open your mouth, it's over. Fumiko's teeth clench so hard, her molars ache. Morrison waits, patient. Flashlight in one hand, wooden tongue depressor in the other. Not moving closer. Not forcing. Corporal Henry Wallace, 31, the translator, speaks softly. His Japanese is strange. Missionary accent, learned from parents who preached in Nagasaki before the war. He says, "He needs to check your teeth. For disease. Nothing else." Disease. Fumiko's mind snags on the word. 73% of Japanese POWs showed severe vitamin deficiency by war's end. She's lost 23 pounds in 3 months. Her gums bleed when she chews. She opens her mouth. Morrison leans in, doesn't touch her, just looks. Moves the flashlight beam across her teeth, her gums, her tongue. Writes something on the clipboard. Moves on. No hands in her mouth, no fingers down her throat, no violence. Just a pencil scratching on paper. Sachiko watches from behind, still crying without sound. Her turn comes next. She opens her mouth faster than Fumiko did. Learns the same lesson. Closes her mouth with the same confusion. Haruko Mori hasn't moved from the corner. 11 years of certainty crumbling in real time behind those dark eyes. She's seen Japanese military doctors work. They don't ask. They don't wait. They don't write notes first. Naze watashi tachi wa mada ikite iruno? Why are we still alive? The question echoes in Fumiko's skull. 3 days of capture. No assault. No experiments. No torture. Just medical examinations and clean water and rations that taste better than anything she's eaten in months. Morrison finishes the line. 47 women examined, 47 mouths opened, 47 throats checked for infection. He speaks to Wallace. The translator's face changes. Something shifts behind his eyes. Wallace turns to Fumiko, hesitates. He says, Wallace pauses. Chooses words carefully. He says you need surgery. The word hits like a bullet. Surgery. In Japanese military, that means one thing: vivisection, live dissection, organs removed while conscious. Unit 731, the stories every soldier heard, the nightmares that kept them fighting past exhaustion. Fumiko's vision tunnels. Her breath stops. Her hands go numb, and then Morrison does something strange. He points at her jaw, at her tooth, the one that's been throbbing for 6 weeks, the one she's been ignoring because stopping meant dying. Morrison taps his own jaw, points at hers again, mimes extraction, pulling something out, not vivisection, not organs, a tooth. He wants to pull her infected tooth. Shujutsu washibu wo imisuru, su oshirareta. Surgery means death. That's what they taught us. Fumiko's brain stutters, rewrites, stutters again. The propaganda included detailed accounts of American doctors cutting prisoners open while they screamed. 89% of Japanese soldiers believed it. She believed it. But Morrison is pointing at a tooth, just a tooth. Wallace translates, the infection is severe. If left untreated, it could spread to your blood, kill you within weeks. He recommends extraction. Recommends, not orders, not demands. Recommends. Fumiko hears herself ask, what if I refuse? Wallace blinks, translates to Morrison. Morrison's eyebrows rise. He responds. Wallace turns back. Then you refuse. It's your choice. Choice. The word doesn't translate. Not really. Not in any language Fumiko understands. Prisoners don't have choices. Captured women don't have choices. Enemies don't have choices. Sentaku? Horyo ni sentaku wa nai. Haruko Mori finally moves, steps closer, voice low. This is a trick. They're testing us, seeing who's weak. But Morrison isn't watching for weakness. He's writing on his clipboard again, documenting her refusal before she's even made it, preparing paperwork for a decision she hasn't announced. Dr. Margaret Chen enters the tent. 29 years old, U.S. Army dentist, one of only 40 female military dentists in the entire Pacific Theater. She'll perform 312 extractions this month. Her brother died at Pearl Harbor. He was 19, same age as Sachiko. Chen looks at Fumiko's chart, looks at her jaw, speaks to Morrison in rapid English. Wallace translates. She says the infection is worse than he thought. You should decide soon. Should, not must, not will. Should. Fumiko touches her jaw. The throb has become a scream since Morrison examined it, pus and blood and 6 weeks of neglect. She knows what happens if she refuses. Slow death, fever, delirium. She knows what happens if she accepts. Maybe. Or maybe everything they told her was a lie. Chen pulls something from her bag. A small vial, clear liquid, a syringe. And for the first time since capture, Fumiko sees something that makes no sense at all. Chen is filling the syringe, for her, for the enemy. This will hurt, I'm sorry. Chen's Japanese is broken, textbook phrases, but the word sorry comes out clear. Gomen nasai, an American doctor apologizing to a prisoner before treatment. Fumiko's mind can't hold the contradiction. Japanese military doctors don't apologize. They don't warn. They don't explain. You sit, they work, you endure. The needle slides into her gum. Cold pinch. Then nothing. Numbness spreads through her jaw like cold water. No pain. The throbbing that kept her awake for 42 nights just stops. Itami ga nai, naz? No pain. Why? She's crying before she realizes it. Not from fear, from absence. The absence of what she expected. The absence of cruelty. The absence of everything she was promised would happen. Chen works quickly, Extraction takes 4 minutes. Fumiko feels pressure but no agony, sees blood but no malice, hears metal instruments but no screaming. Nurse Lieutenant Patricia Reyes assists, 26 years old, Filipino-American. She survived the Bataan Death March, walked 65 miles while Japanese soldiers bayoneted stragglers, watched friends die in the Philippine sun. Now she's handing surgical tools to help a Japanese woman. Fumiko doesn't know this yet. Doesn't know that Reyes lost 17 friends in that march. Doesn't know that the woman cleaning her wound has every reason to hate her. The extraction ends. Chen holds up the tooth. Blackened. Rotted. 2 more weeks and Fumiko would be dead. Loop payoff from S2. Morrison's notes read, severe dental infection. Immediate extraction required. Patient consent obtained per Geneva Protocol 17C. Not experiment orders, not vivisection prep, medical documentation, the same paperwork used for American soldiers. Fumiko stares at the tooth, at Chen, at Reyes, at the syringe that held kindness instead of poison. In Japanese military, she whispers to Wallace, anesthesia is for officers only. Enlisted soldiers get nothing, Wallace translates. Chen's face tightens. She responds, Wallace. She says that's barbaric. Pain doesn't make you stronger, it just makes you hurt. Itami wa anata wo tsuyoku shinai, tada kisutsukeru dake. Fumiko closes her eyes. The numbness in her jaw matches the numbness in her mind. Everything she knew is wrong. Everything she feared was a lie. And now she's sitting in an enemy medical tent, tooth extracted, pain managed, alive. Alive when she should be dead. Treated when she should be tortured. Cared for when she should be broken. She opens her mouth to speak. Instead, something else comes out. Something she hasn't done in 3 years. She's laughing. Small, broken, hysterical. The sound of a mind rewriting itself in real time. Then the laughter becomes sobbing, deep, wrenching sobs that shake her whole body, in front of the enemy, in front of women she's supposed to lead, in front of everyone. Kore wa wanada, shinsetsu wa wanada. This is a trap. Kindness is a trap. But the trap never springs. Chen doesn't mock her, doesn't call guards, doesn't report the breakdown for interrogation leverage. She reaches into her pocket, pulls out a handkerchief, white cotton, American-made, clean, hands it to Fumiko. 67% of Japanese POWs reported shame as their dominant emotion upon receiving humane treatment. Not relief, not gratitude. Shame. Because kindness from enemies meant everything they believed was wrong. Fumiko holds the handkerchief like a grenade, soft cotton against calloused palms. It smells like soap, clean soap. She hasn't smelled clean soap in 11 months. Your hands are shaking, Chen says through Wallace. I know. You're safe here. I know. A pause. That's the problem. Chen tilts her head. Wallace translates her response. Why is safety a problem? Fumiko wipes her face. The handkerchief comes away gray with grime, wet with tears. She should return it. It's ruined now. Enemy property destroyed. She doesn't return it. Anata no Kyudai wa Pearl Harbor deshinda. Your brother died at Pearl Harbor, Wallace told her during the extraction. Tried to keep her calm with conversation, mentioned that Chen lost someone, 19 years old, same age as Sachiko, same age as the young sailors whose ships they celebrated sinking. Why are you helping me? Fumiko asks. Your brother is dead because of us, Wallace translates. Chen's face doesn't change. She responds slowly, carefully. My brother is dead. Hating you won't bring him back. Hurting you won't bring him back. But helping you... She pauses. Maybe that means something. Maybe it doesn't, but it's what I chose. Chose. That word again. Sachiko appears in the doorway, watching, processing. Her tears have dried into salt tracks on her cheeks. She's seen everything, the extraction, the breakdown, the handkerchief. Haruko stands behind her, the true believer. 11 years of certainty written in rigid posture and clenched fists. Fumiko looks at the handkerchief in her hands. 3 cents of cotton, infinite weight of meaning. And then Chen does something that stops every thought in the tent. She speaks in Japanese, not through Wallace, directly. 3 words, broken pronunciation, perfect meaning. Watashi wa yurusu. I forgive you. The syllables hang in humid air, imperfect pronunciation, textbook accent, but unmistakable meaning. Fumiko stops breathing. Sachiko's hand flies to her mouth. Haruko's rigid posture cracks, just slightly, just enough to see something shift behind her eyes. An American woman, whose brother died in Japanese attack? Speaking Japanese, to say she forgives. Tekikoku no hito ga naze? Why would an enemy nation's person? The question doesn't finish, can't finish. There's no framework for this, no training, no propaganda, no whispered warning that prepared them for forgiveness from someone who should want them dead. Chen learned Japanese for 14 weeks, 3 hours daily, vocabulary drills and pronunciation exercises while other doctors slept. Only 3% of U.S. medical personnel bothered learning enemy phrases. She learned for moments exactly like this one. Why? Fumiko's voice cracks. Why would you learn our language? Why would you forgive? Wallace starts to translate, but Chen understands enough. She responds in English, lets Wallace convert. Because someone has to be first. Someone has to stop the cycle. If not me, who? If not now, when? Haruko Mori steps forward, the true believer, the 11-year veteran, the woman who watched colleagues die for the Emperor and never questioned why. Her voice comes out strange, hollow. My son was a pilot. The tent freezes. Kamikaze? He died at 17. They told me he was a hero. They told me Americans would celebrate his death, mock it, parade his body. Chen's face tightens. Wallace translates in real time, voice dropping lower with each sentence. Did they? Haruko asks. Did you celebrate? Did you mock? Silence. Canvas flapping, generator humming in the distance. Someone's stomach growls, the body demanding life while the mind processes death. Chen shakes her head. We buried your pilots with honors, marked graves when we could, said prayers in languages they wouldn't understand. Watashi tachi wa karera wo meisu shimashita, kei wo mote. We buried them. With respect, Haruko's certainty doesn't crack. It shatters. 11 years of belief, gone in 11 seconds. Her son didn't die to be mocked. He died to be mourned by the enemy he was told would desecrate him. The tent holds its breath. Fumiko still clutches the handkerchief. Sachiko still stands frozen in the doorway. Morrison still watches from the corner, understanding nothing of the words, but everything of the weight. And then Haruko asks the question that changes everything. Did my son suffer? Did my son suffer when your people killed him? Haruko's voice breaks on the last word. First crack in 11 years of perfect composure. First admission that the patriot is also a mother. Chen doesn't answer immediately, doesn't lie, doesn't offer false comfort. I don't know, she says through Wallace. I wasn't there. I can't tell you what happened to your son. Wakarimasen, soko ni imasen deshita. Haruko's hands shake. 3,112 kamikaze pilots died in the Pacific War. Average age, 19. Her son was 17. Too young to drink, too young to vote, old enough to die. But I know this, Chen continues. He was someone's child, like my brother was someone's child, like every boy who died in this war was someone's child. 2 mothers, different uniforms, same grief. Morrison watches from the corner. He hasn't spoken since the examination. But something changes in his posture now. His hand moves to his breast pocket, touches something inside. Fumiko notices, her journalist's eye catching details others miss. Chen speaks again. My brother was 19, stationed at Pearl Harbor. He wanted to be a teacher, loved baseball, wrote letters every week until December 7th, Wallace translates. His voice cracks slightly. Professional distance crumbling. He was on the USS Arizona. They never recovered his body. Just gone. 1 minute writing letters about coming home for Christmas, next minute, nothing. Karada wa mitsukarimasen deshita, umi ni kimashita. Body never found, vanished into the sea. Haruko's tears fall silently, the first tears she's shed since receiving the telegram about her son. 2 years of frozen grief melting in an enemy medical tent. I'm not forgiving Japan, Chen says. I'm not forgiving the war. I'm forgiving you, because you didn't kill my brother, and I didn't kill your son. We're just here. After, the word hangs in the air. After the bombs, after the dying, after the propaganda and the training and the certainty. Morrison steps forward. His hand emerges from his pocket, holding something, a photograph, black and white, worn edges, a young man in American uniform. He hands it to Haruko. My brother, Morrison says. Wallace translates. Thomas, 18, Iwo Jima. Same month your son died. Haruko takes the photograph. Her fingers, the fingers that once held her own son's first photograph, touch the face of an American boy who died in the same war, different uniform, same youth, same ending, and something impossible happens in that tent. Haruko touches the photograph. First American object she's touched without fear. Thomas Morrison, 18 years old, freckles visible even in black and white, smile frozen in silver halide forever. He died at Iwo Jima, same island where 6,800 Americans fell, same beaches where 18,000 Japanese became bones. Morrison carried this photograph for 147 days, through combat, through mud, through the worst moments of his war. Now he's handing it to a woman his country calls enemy. Watashi tachi wa mina kodomo wo ushinata. We all lost children. Haruko whispers the words, not to anyone, to the air, to the photograph, to her son's ghost, and this American boy she never knew. Loop payoff from S6. The true believer, the last person anyone expected, becomes the first to bridge the gap. Not Fumiko with her journalist questions, not Sachiko with her tears. Haruko, the 11-year veteran, the one who believed hardest. He looks kind, Haruko says, your brother. He has kind eyes. Morrison doesn't need translation. Tone transcends language. He nods, blinks rapidly. Professional military composure holding, barely. Your son, he says through Wallace. What was he like? Haruko almost smiles. Almost. Stubborn, like his mother. He wanted to be an engineer, build bridges. Instead they taught him to fly into ships. Hashi wo tsukuritakata, fune ni tobikomu koto wo oshirareta. Wanted to build bridges, taught to crash into ships. The irony doesn't need explanation. The tent feels it. Every woman, every American. The weight of boys who wanted to build things being taught to destroy themselves. Chen steps closer. What was his name? Kenji. Haruko's voice softens. It means intelligent second son. He was our only child. We lied on the birth certificate so he'd have a strong name. Fumiko watches from her chair, handkerchief still clutched, jaw still numb. Mind recording every detail for a story she'll tell for 40 years. Sachiko moves finally, steps into the tent fully, stands beside Haruko, not touching, just present. Morrison takes back his photograph, gently, holds it a moment longer than necessary before returning it to his pocket. 147 days of grief, shared with an enemy for 30 seconds. Kenji and Thomas, he says. Same age, same war, same sky. Onaji Sora no Shita Deshinda, died under the same sky. The generator hums outside, canvas flaps. Somewhere, artillery sounds in the distance, war continuing while this small pocket of humanity forms. And then Sachiko speaks. First words since capture. What she says will haunt everyone present. I wanted to die. Sachiko's voice is barely audible. 19 years old, youngest signals operator in her unit. First words since American hands touched her. Before you captured me, I wanted to die. The tent goes silent, not uncomfortable silence, waiting silence, the kind that invites continuation, Watashi wa shinu tsumori deshita, shuryudan wo motimashita. I was planning to die. I had a grenade, she continues. They gave us grenades. Training said use it before capture. One pull, no pain, no shame, no American hands. Fumiko's chest tightens. She had the same grenade, same training, same orders. I held it, Sachiko whispers. Put my finger on the pin, closed my eyes, and then... She pauses, swallows. I hesitated. 1 second, one single second of doubt. Wallace translates in real time. His voice has lost all professional distance. He's just a man now, hearing a girl describe almost dying. The grenade didn't work, manufacturing defect, 1 in 340 chance. I pulled the pin and nothing happened. 1 in 340. The odds that kept her alive, the odds that brought her to this tent instead of a crater in the jungle. 23% of Japanese women POWs admitted to suicide attempts or plans before capture. Sachiko is part of that number, standing here, breathing, alive by accident. Ikite iru hazu janakata, naze watashi wa ikite iru no? I shouldn't be alive. Why am I alive? Chen responds without waiting for translation. Her Japanese is broken but present. Because you deserve to be. Sachiko's face crumples. Not crying. Something deeper. The face of someone who believed death was mercy and is now confronting unwanted life. Morrison speaks quietly to Wallace. Wallace nods, translates. He says his unit found Japanese soldiers who did the same, used their grenades before capture. He says he wishes they hadn't. He wishes they'd known. Known what? Loop payoff from S7. The Americans don't see enemies. They see someone's daughter, someone's sister, someone's girl who wanted to build a life before war stole the choice. Haruko moves closer to Sachiko, not touching, just present. 2 women, 3 generations of Japanese womanhood, united by survival, neither expected. Fumiko stands. Her jaw aches where the tooth was. Her hands still shake around the handkerchief. But she stands. We all had grenades, she says. We all hesitated. Silence. Then Chen does something that could end her military career. She walks to the supply cabinet, opens it, and invites them to dinner. Eat with us. 3 words that violate military protocol. 3 words that risk court-martial. 3 words that change everything. Chen sets out rations. Rice. American supply, better quality than Imperial Army issue. Canned peaches, chocolate bars, powdered milk mixed with clean water. Morrison, Wallace, Reyes, Fumiko, Sachiko, Haruko. 6 people, 2 nations, 1 table. Teki to shokuji wo suru nante. Eating with the enemy. Haruko hesitates longest. 11 years of training screaming that this is collaboration, treason, shame. But her son is dead. Her certainty is shattered, and the peaches smell sweet. She sits. They eat in silence first, metal spoons on metal plates, the sound of survival stripped of ideology. No propaganda here, no training manuals, just hunger and humanity sharing a table. Reyes speaks first. Wallace translates, I walked the Bataan Death March. Japanese soldiers killed 17 of my friends. Bayonets, exhaustion, cruelty. The Japanese women freeze. Fumiko's spoon stops halfway to her mouth. I should hate you, Reyes continues. Sometimes I still do, but you didn't walk that march. You didn't hold those bayonets. And I can't hate you for what other people did any more than you should hate me for what other Americans do. Watashi wa anata wo uramu koto ga dekinai. I cannot hate you. The meal continues. Conversation begins. Halting, translated. Real. Chen received a formal reprimand for this dinner. 3 sections of POW protocol violated. She framed the reprimand, hung it in her office for 40 years. Time jump, 2003. Tokyo. Fumiko Hayashi, 80 years old, interviewed by documentary crew. She holds a handkerchief. Faded, stained, 58 years preserved. This was the first moment I understood, she says. We were lied to, not about the war, about each other. She kept the handkerchief. Chen kept the reprimand. Haruko kept a copy of Thomas Morrison's photograph. Sachiko kept the memory of a grenade that failed. Fumiko and Chen exchanged letters for 34 years. Last letter, 1989. Chen died in 1991. Fumiko still writes to her ghost. Watashi tachi wateki de wanakata, tada ningen data. We were never enemies, only humans. Call back to Section 1. On your knees, look up at me. 5 words. Fumiko thought they meant destruction. They meant examination. They meant care. They meant, you are still human to us. Wars are won by armies. But humanity is proven in moments no general orders, when a woman whose brother died hands a handkerchief to a woman who believed she was a beast. If you were Fumiko, terrified, conditioned, certain, would you have trusted the flashlight?